Xbox has been fighting an uphill battle for over 25 years, trying to take over the living room for gaming. But now they have more games than ever, a future for hardware and services, and a viral video just called out Xbox for being a massive failure.
So what happened? How did one of the best consoles with one of the most popular gaming franchises in existence end up failing? We'll explore that in today's episode of the Infographic Show, the real reason Xbox is failing.
This video is full of revisionist history and perceptive opinions and some outright lies about what's really happening with Xbox.
It's September 2023 and you head home with your newest console purchase in over 5 years, the new Xbox Series S. You hadn't heard much about it, but you saw it in the store and, well, it's the latest Xbox. You have to try it out and see how it holds up to the PlayStation 5. As you plug it in, you pause for a moment trying to remember why you left Xbox in the first place. Whatever, why live in the past? You go online to check out which games to buy and then you see it. A new Halo. That's the game that made you fall in love with the system all those years ago in the first place. A wave of nostalgia washes over you as you eagerly buy the game, hoping to relive the magic. You boot up Halo Infinite and start playing, but something feels off. The gameplay is dull, the environments are uninspired, and the quality of the online service sucks.
Hold on for a second. Halo Infinite was an 87. It was critically acclaimed. It was well loved, especially in the opening couple of months. The campaign got rave reviews. Fans were really excited to play an open world modernized Halo game. The online really blew up the first month. The problem with Halo Infinite a couple of months after launch back in 2021 was a poor or slow roadmap of online content. But this video shows someone accessing Halo Infinite in 2023 when it's got over 2 years of packed online content and improvements, including Horde mode and so much more. I loved Halo Infinite, and so did millions and millions of people who played it. To call Halo Infinite a disappointment is pretty ridiculous when it is rated up there with some of the best Halo games over the past 10 years.
Disappointed, you decide to check out another tentpole Xbox series like, wait, where are all the big games for Xbox?
What do you mean, where are all the big games from Xbox? They put out 28 games this generation, and they're about to compare it to PlayStation that's put out 33. 10 of those, a third of those games on PlayStation, are remasters of games you already played on the PS4. You've got Forza Horizon 5, 2 Call of Duties that have come out under Xbox, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Starfield, Avowed just came out, and they know that Doom the Dark Ages is right around the corner, as well as Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, and so much more from Xbox first party.
What about that huge RPG that everyone's talking about? You could have sworn the developer announced it was coming to Xbox. You check and it's available on PlayStation. What? Why isn't it on Xbox? In fact, why isn't anything popular available on Xbox?
Okay, they're about to bring up the Baldur's Gate 3 thing from 2023, where the game was delayed 3 months on the Xbox platform because the Xbox Series S couldn't run split screen.
And that's the first big reason why Xbox is failing. Game developers just don't want to release their titles for the console anymore. Why? Well, the Xbox Series S is part of the problem.
They say that there are a ton of games that don't come to PlayStation because of the Series S, which is an outright lie. In fact, the only games that haven't come to the Xbox platform because of performance or a parity clause was Baldur's Gate 3 with a 3-month delay, and Black Myth Wukong, a game that has actually got an express exclusivity agreement with PlayStation because they paid to develop the game and get it on console instead of waiting for the console port, since it was only supposed to be on the PC. Of course, there are developers or smaller developers that will skip the Xbox platform because the Xbox Series S and X console base is so low. This is Xbox's big major problem that they have not addressed. They've done nothing but continue to hold back console sales in the European market and overseas. But to say all of these big games or big RPGs are not on Xbox is an outright lie, when almost every single major tentpole franchise and RPG and big AAA game comes to Xbox, PC, and PlayStation at the same time.
You're scrolling through the list of games, increasingly regretting the $300 you just spent on the Xbox Series S. Not only does the console not have a lot of games that you wanted, the games it does have all seem to be available on PlayStation as well. Xbox is talking about how it's going to release Indiana Jones and the Great Circle in December of 2024, but then you learn the game will also be released to PlayStation in spring of 2025. Doom: The Dark Ages is scheduled to be released on PlayStation and Xbox on the same day, May 15th, 2025. What is Xbox doing?
And they've already owned the console. If you're sitting there wondering about your purchase, that you should have bought a PS5 at this point, you already bought your console. These games are not being taken away from you. In fact, if you've got past 2023, 3 years in the generation, the games are flowing in from Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, and Xbox's game studios. And what is Xbox doing? Well, they're trying to make more money because over the past 10 years, they've had almost no games. The games they did have were not very exciting. Fans weren't looking for Super Lucky's Tale or Recore. Fans were looking for big games like Fable and saying, where's Fable? Where's State of Decay 3? Fable just got announced to come out in 2026. State of Decay 3 is probably going to get its big reveal for gameplay this year. It'll probably come out in 2026 as well. But how could you fit Fable and State of Decay in right now in this year when Xbox already has at least 10 games coming out?
Well, it seems even Xbox doesn't really know. The company has almost no exclusive titles anymore, further driving down their console sales.
Here it is, the old plastic wars. What PlayStation and Xbox leadership have told you, that consoles are niche, and Xbox has moved beyond the console. In fact, they did that way back in 2016. And here the infographic show is showing their bias and how far behind they are and misinformed about where the games industry is heading, moving into cloud gaming, PC gaming, handhelds, and console, and a combination of any of those things. And for Xbox to only rely on the console being behind Nintendo and PlayStation in plastic sales isn't going to work for them any further. And to continue to say that they're failing just because the console sales are lower than PlayStation and Nintendo is not looking at the overall big picture at all. In fact, Xbox is number 2 in revenue across Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, with Nintendo being in last place, but still making far more profit than all three. And you just can't look at console sales by themselves.
The Xbox 360, one of the company's most popular consoles by far, sold 14.9 million units worldwide.
And then they're going to take a long history lesson of the Xbox 360 and Xbox One, dive into the DRM, the always online, and the Connect bundling and everything that's already been rehashed. This is about where Xbox is now and why they think Xbox is failing.
It's a mystery why Xbox isn't securing more exclusive rights to major games, especially since Microsoft has owned ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda, makers of Fallout, Elder Scrolls, and Doom, since 2021. Considering they spent $8.1 billion on ZeniMax, you might think Microsoft would get them to make games exclusive for the Xbox.
Phil Spencer promised back in 2021 that the Bethesda games would be exclusive to where Game Pass exists, and now he's completely backed out of that and made those games fully multi-plat.
PlayStation, for example, has huge games like God of War, The Last of Us, and Spider-Man 2 that it keeps exclusive to their consoles, besides PCs. Anyone who wants to play some of the best games of the last 10 years has to get a PlayStation. But Xbox can't get exclusive rights to other major franchises that would drive gamers back to their console either.
What do you mean Xbox isn't willing to make a bunch of games to bring people to their platform? They have 30 studios, they have ZeniMax, Bethesda, Activision, and Blizzard, and they're working on some 1 or 2 projects each in every studio. Look at this graphic that Clobro put together that shows the Xbox roadmap. Xbox shows their commitment to bring out major games like Fallout, Doom, Elder Scrolls, Perfect Dark, Gears, and a ton of brand new IPs. Most of Xbox's games are AAA and some AA games. Xbox has really gone so much bigger, even 10 times increasing the amount of games that are available to their fans on console, PC, and Game Pass.
Unfortunately, Microsoft doesn't seem serious about devoting time or resources to build out studios that would create a first-party lineup.
What a lie!
And the problem is, the more Xbox loses customers, the less inclined other game developers are to develop their games for the console. So maybe we should examine why Xbox is pursuing such a bad strategy to begin with.
Okay, this is true. Yes, if Xbox doesn't have enough console users, then some developers may continue to skip the Xbox console. Of course, this is very few and far between, but this could be a problem in the future because next generation, maybe only half as many people will buy an Xbox console. But this part is pure speculation based off of rumors. Xbox's next generation console probably won't just be a console. It will be a PC.
Who even runs Xbox anymore? You know Microsoft owns the company, but you can't quite remember who's in charge of Xbox specifically.
Really? You don't know who runs Xbox? You don't know the name Phil Spencer? You don't know the guy who's continually lambasted by everybody in the games media, gaming fans, the fall guy for everything, the guy who said he would do things, the guy who changed what he was doing, the guy who ran Xbox for 10 years, the one who's always on stage, the one who's in every single interview. They know who Phil Spencer is.
Xbox's customer base, it is clear, Microsoft isn't focusing on Xbox. Even when they are, they don't seem to care about what Xbox gamers want. As stated on gaming site Level Up, everything indicates that Xbox as a console has been relegated from the main narrative of Microsoft's top executives.
They got this one right. Absolutely, Microsoft and Xbox don't know what Xbox gamers want, and especially over the past 4 or 5 years, they've continued to not give priority to the console or even support it properly with the features it was supposed to have. And now moving into next generation, they've really shown that Microsoft is about the services and the games and the revenue there, and they have not given that special treatment that the other platforms do to their console users.
Major developers like Capcom stopped releasing their titles to Xbox, including their classic Fighting Collection games, for years because of technical issues.
For years, you haven't had the Capcom fighting games on Xbox? No, they were on the Xbox original, Xbox 360, and they're coming to Xbox One, and they'll be there via backward compatibility. Xbox had a problem with their MT framework engine, which is a porting process that Capcom wasn't doing at the time, so Capcom's fighting in this one arcade retro game is being delayed some 8 months to come to Xbox Series S and X consoles. But no, Capcom hasn't been skipping Xbox for years.
As you sit in your living room, you decide to check out if Microsoft has any gacha games. So you check to see which gacha games the new Xbox has, and you come up with nothing. How's that possible? How did Microsoft fail to take advantage of one of the fastest growing and most lucrative gaming markets in the world today?
When was this video made? November 2024, Xbox finally got Genshin Impact, and in fact, it got a whole suite of extra features when it finally got the port to Xbox. Then they go on to name a bunch of other games that are not coming to Xbox, and they already have announcements, or they're already released on the Xbox platform. All of this just paints Xbox as being left out of all of these games when there are thousands of games available on the Xbox, just as there are on PlayStation.
So, is there any bright news in Xbox future? Well, one silver lining is the Game Pass feature, which has done incredibly well. As of February 2024, the service had 34 million subscribers, proving that it is really popular among Xbox customers. While the Game Pass has proven to be a successful model for customers, it's been more of a mixed bag for developers. Some think that putting their games on the Game Pass model devalues their work, as they end up offering the final product for such a low price. Not to mention, it decreases the actual sales of their games.
Here comes the old Xbox Game Pass is unsustainable and is bad for game developers and doesn't support the developers. If you put your game on Game Pass, you did it because you agreed to the terms of Xbox giving you a lump sum in placement for sales that you would have on the Xbox console. In fact, right now, one of the biggest games, the possible Game of the Year contender, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, just saw 1 million sales in the first couple of days across PlayStation, PC, Xbox console, and it's in Game Pass, showing that your game can make the lump sum up front for Sandfall Studios, as well as continue to make money on other consoles, even on Xbox console, for people that decide to buy or own the game instead of renting it through Game Pass.
So the news of lower game sales makes Game Pass far less appealing to them. As a result, many of the biggest games are kept off of Game Pass, which in turn lowers the service's overall value, making it less enticing for gamers who expect access to top-tier titles.
Exhibit A, and all of Xbox Game Studios titles, there are big games, and as Xbox Game Pass gets bigger, they'll be able to bring in bigger games and spend more money to get bigger titles in the service earlier.
So it seems that at the end of the day, the future for Xbox is not all that bright, especially as its parent company barely seems to care about it or even understand the market it's selling to. Is Xbox making the right moves by focusing on Game Pass and cloud gaming, or is it losing its place in the console market? Should Microsoft push for more exclusives, or is it too late to catch up to PlayStation and Nintendo? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Yes, it's too late to compete with Nintendo and PlayStation on just the console. And Xbox has said, yeah, you don't need a console. You can play everywhere. The word Xbox doesn't just mean the plastic console. Since 2016, Xbox has meant games available on PC and the Xbox console. And now they're becoming one of the biggest gaming publishers in the world. And the future is very, very bright because they haven't continued to do what they failed to do over the past 10 years. I'm excited more about all of the games, the variety, new IPs, and remastering old classics and continuing to revive some of our favorite games and letting us play those games the way we want to play them. Whether you want to be on a high-end PC, be on a handheld device like the ROG Ally, or play on cloud. And sometime in the 5 or 10 years into the future, cloud gaming or on-demand on your smart TV may be so seamless that the console will continue to become more niche, and being able to play more of your games with cross-play and cross-progression where you want to play is a better use of your money. And if you're a consumer, you should be thinking about that value proposition more than how many consoles Xbox sells. This video got so much wrong, and there's so much misrepresentation and a perception problem. If you want to hear more about this, I really would highly recommend watching this video right here, the console generation, where it breaks down what happened with the PS5 launch and the Xbox Series S and X consoles. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new weekly content. If you want to further support the work we do here on the Colteastwood channel, you can do that by hitting the join button below. That'll get you early access for videos. Share this video out with a friend or a fellow gaming fan who doesn't understand what's going on and maybe needs to make some decisions on what they're going to do looking forward. Also, check out the Patreon. There we have more tiers. We have the super class. You want to learn how to do production, design, thumbnails, graphics, lighting, podcasting, and so much more. I do one-on-one courses every month with people who join the super class. Check out the X&C podcast that runs every Monday live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Middle-aged game guy and I will talk about the news, breakdown this video some more, talk about the upcoming Xbox showcase. There's a lot to be excited about. Let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. I don't normally do reaction content, and some people might look at this as a console war thing. It couldn't be further from that. It's really all about the games, and it's about how we play those. Let me know what you think. I want to hear your opinion, and while you do that, as I always say, be nice.